The news that Panda are hiking up their bin charges will be no surprise to customers who've had to pay hefty bin charges in this country since 2003, roughly, when the move to bring in bin charges was imposed. That was 20 years ago. Myself and about 27 activists went to prison over protests to stop bin charges, not because we're miserable and don't want to pay our way in society, but because we predicted at the time, quite rightly, that it would be a disaster that would lead to the privatisation of waste collection services up and down the country, and that privatisation would in turn be a disaster for workers, for the environment and for the communities which they're supposed to serve. Now, the news that Panda are going to charge for organic waste is an absolute contradiction in terms of what we've been told by the state, by the Department of the Environment at the time and now. It was the reason why bin charges were brought in. And in that process of recycling, they're now going to be charged for the organic waste, much of which has been dumped for decades at the back of where I live on Kylemore Avenue in a facility Thornton's owned. We now have a company that was bought over for 1.4 billion from Eamon Waters of Bow Park Utilities by an Australian infrastructure fund. An Australian infrastructure fund is raising bin charges to ordinary consumers by €100 a year, more or less, for 26 lifts. And at the same time, what we're witnessing in terms of the privatisation of the service, and anybody who lives in a working class estate particularly will know this, every day of the week, not once a week, but every day of the week, dirty, large diesel-run trucks run up and down estates because of competition. Either people are going to Thornton's, or they're going to Panda, or they're going to City Bin. There are a plethora of waste management companies, most of them registered offshore, so that their profits are not up for scrutiny. We do have a measure of a lot of their profits, and by God are their profits rising. I'll read out some of them later on, but their profits are rising astronomically. Even in this cost of living crisis, they're gaining and people are losing out. So is it not time now, Taoiseach, or Tánaiste to Gumalesh, that this state called for the renationalisation, the remunicipalisation of the waste management services throughout the country? It's been a disaster for the environment, for workers, for ordinary people who have to pay the charges, and it's time to reverse that and do the right thing for all of the above mentioned.